My coworker's apartment flooded, so she moved in with me, and 6 hours later, my phone lit up with a voice note I was never supposed to hear. I remember staring at the little audio bar, my thumb hovering over the screen, while the apartment behind me stayed too quiet. Her damp suitcase was still by the door. Her legal folders were stacked beside my couch. And Ava Morales, the woman everyone at work called my best friend, had just sent me something meant for her sister. 6 hours earlier, I was sitting across from a woman named Claire in a restaurant with linen napkins, low lights, and the kind of menu that made every sentence sound like a business proposal. Claire was smart, kind, beautiful in a clean, careful way. She designed hospital wings and remembered the name of our server. There was nothing wrong with her. That was the problem. Nothing was wrong, and still I kept thinking about the text I had sent Ava before leaving. Did the building manager answer? She had replied with a photo of a ceiling stain spreading like a bruise above her kitchen sink. Then another text. He says Monday. He said Monday last Monday. I almost smiled at the screen because I could hear her voice in the punctuation. Ava had been in corporate legal for almost 4 years, and she could make a negligent landlord sound like a defendant under oath with one raised eyebrow. She wanted senior counsel before 35. She kept color-coded tabs in every contract, carried backup pens in her blazer, and believed apologies meant nothing without corrected behavior. At work, I was the numbers guy. Internal accounting, quiet office, clean spreadsheets, fewer surprises. Ava was the person who made sure my world had words around it. We met 3 years and 8 months earlier when the break room coffee machine died and I was on the floor trying to fix it with a butter knife. She handed me a pen and said, "You look like a man who wishes he had a screwdriver." After that, the rituals built themselves. Every Monday, a black coffee appeared on my desk before the budget meeting. Every night she worked late, I texted, "Home yet?" Every Friday, if neither of us was buried under deadlines, we ate noodles at a place with cracked red booths and terrible parking. We called it friendship because friendship was safe. Because coworkers could care without risking everything. Because naming a thing meant being responsible for what happened next. Claire asked me what I did for fun, and I almost said, I listened to Ava argue with contracts. Instead, I said something forgettable about baseball and podcasts. By the time dessert came, I knew Claire deserved someone fully present. I paid, thanked her honestly, and drove home through wet streets reflecting traffic lights like broken glass. When I opened my apartment door, the first thing I saw was Ava asleep on my couch, one socked foot tucked under her, damp hair loose against the pillow, a rental agreement open on her chest. Beside her sat the tea I had left out because she hated sleeping after stress without something warm. The TV murmured to no one. I stood there with my keys in my hand, feeling the strange ache of returning not to an empty apartment, but to a life already waiting for me. And for the first time, I wondered if the peace I kept looking for across dinner tables had been breathing softly on my couch all along. The voice note arrived while I was standing in the kitchen, rinsing the cup Ava had fallen asleep beside. My phone buzzed against the counter, once, then again, a small ordinary sound that did not warn me my life was about to split open. I dried my hands on a towel, saw her name on the screen, and tapped it without thinking. At first there was only static, the soft drag of fabric, then Ava's voice, lower than usual, tired in a way she never let the office hear. "Elena, don't start," she said. I froze with the towel still in my fist. Elena was her older sister. I had met her twice. Both times she had looked at me like she was reading fine print. "I'm not starting," Elena said through the recording, her voice sharp but careful. "I'm checking. Your apartment floods, the building manager dodges you, and suddenly you're sleeping on Ethan's couch. I need to know you're safe." There was a pause. I should have stopped the audio right there. I knew it. My thumb even moved toward the screen. This was not for me. This was a sister asking a sister the kind of question people ask when they love someone enough to risk sounding difficult. But then Ava gave a little laugh. Not amused. More like she was trying not to break. "Safe is the problem," she whispered. The water in the sink kept running behind me. I turned it off too fast, and the pipes knocked once inside the wall. The recording kept playing.
Elena softened.
What does that mean? Ava breathed in. I could picture her sitting on the edge of my couch, shoulders curved forward, phone close to her mouth, trying to keep her voice from reaching the hallway. It means I sleep better there than I do in my own place. It means he leaves tea by the couch and pretends he doesn't know I notice. It means I keep telling myself he's just kind because he's kind to everyone. My fingers tightened around the phone until the edge pressed a red line into my palm. I stared at the dark kitchen window and saw my own face looking back, older than I felt, afraid in a way numbers had never made me afraid. Elena said nothing for a moment. Then, gently, Ava. That one word did it. Ava made a sound so small I almost missed it. I think I've loved him for a long time. My chest stopped. Not tightened. Stopped. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed outside, washing white headlights across the ceiling. I should have ended it then. I did not. And that failure landed in me before the joy did. Somewhere along the way, Ava said, his couch started feeling like home. The phone slipped slightly in my damp hand. It hit the edge of the counter with a hard little click. From the living room, fabric rustled. The audio bar was still moving, bright and merciless. Then Ava's real voice, not recorded, came from the couch. Ethan? I turned. She was awake, one hand on her own phone, her face pale in the blue light. On her screen, I saw the same voice note, the status changed from delivered to played. For 3 seconds, neither of us moved. The kitchen light buzzed overhead. My phone lay face up on the counter with the voice note still open, the little progress bar sitting at the end like evidence. Ava stood by the couch in my old gray sweatshirt, one hand wrapped around her own phone, the other pressed flat against the cushion as if the room had tilted. I'm sorry, I said, and my voice came out rougher than I expected. I should have stopped it the second I heard Elena's name. Her mouth parted, but no sound came out. Behind her, Elena's name flashed on the screen again. Incoming call. Ava looked down, then at me, and for a moment I thought she would ignore it. Instead, she answered and put it on speaker with her thumb trembling over the button. Ava. Elena's voice came through sharp with worry. Tell me he didn't hear that. Ava closed her eyes. He heard enough. Enough or all of it? I looked at the half-washed cup by the sink, the tea stains circling the bottom like a small brown moon. Too much, I said. That's on me. Elena went quiet. Then her voice dropped into something colder. Ethan, do not make a promise right now because you're scared of losing your best friend. Do not turn my sister's worst fear into a speech you haven't earned. I won't, I said, and I meant it, though my chest hurt with everything I suddenly wanted to say. Ava sat on the edge of the couch, not inviting me closer. The blanket had slipped to the floor. Her blazer hung over my dining chair, sleeves folded inward, like it belonged there and was trying not to. Are you shocked? She asked. Or guilty? The question hit harder than anger would have. Both, I said. But that isn't all. She gave a small, tired laugh. That sounds like something people say when they don't know what they feel yet. I looked at the phone in my hand, at the frozen screen, at her name above a message I had no right to open. You're right. Her eyes lifted. Then don't dress confusion up as love. I swallowed. My hand found the edge of the counter, needing something solid. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to understand why every woman I've gone out with for the last year felt like someone I had to translate myself for. Claire asked what I did for fun tonight, and the first answer in my head was you. Not because you're convenient, because you know I take coffee black when I'm fine and with sugar when I'm pretending to be fine. Because when the audit blew up last spring, you sat on the floor outside conference room B with vending machine pretzels until I could breathe. Because when my father was in the hospital, you didn't ask what I needed. You brought the charger I always forget. Ava's face changed, but only slightly. Her fingers tightened around the phone. Elena stayed silent, guarding the space without filling it. And because, I said, slower now, every time a date ends, you're the person I want to call first. Ava looked toward the window. Rain tapped lightly at the glass, The same rain that had ruined her apartment and dragged this truth into my living room. That still doesn't tell me if you want me, she whispered. Or if you're just afraid things will never feel normal again. I had no clean answer. Not one worthy of her. She saw it before I spoke. She stood, gathering the blanket, the legal folder, the pieces of herself she could still control. Then we don't solve this here. Her thumb hovered over the red button. Not on speaker. Not tonight. Important things shouldn't be decided through a screen. Then she ended the call. I did not follow her down the hall when she left the living room. That was the first decent thing I managed to do that night. I stood in my own kitchen with both hands on the counter, listening to the soft click of the guest room door and the rain tapping the window above the sink. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. I wrote 3 texts and deleted all of them because every version sounded like pressure wearing clean clothes. Finally, I put on my coat, picked up the umbrella by the door, and walked out of my apartment. Not to chase her. To give her a door she could choose not to open. The lobby smelled like wet concrete and old mail. Ava was sitting on the bench near the glass entrance, knees pulled close, her damp legal folder beside her like she had brought evidence against her own heart. She must have come downstairs for air. I stopped 6 feet away. "Can I sit?" I asked. She looked at the empty space beside her, then at me. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. "You can stand there for a minute." So I stood there, holding the umbrella closed in both hands, water dripping from its tip onto the tile. Outside, headlights slid across the lobby walls and disappeared. "I'm not here to fix this tonight," I said. "I'm here because you were right. Important things shouldn't happen through a screen." Ava folded her arms over my sweatshirt. "Then answer me without making it beautiful." I nodded once. She asked it quietly. "If there had been no voice note, would you ever have said anything?" The truth was not flattering. It sat in my mouth like a stone. "Maybe not soon enough," I said. Her face tightened, but she didn't look away. "Because I'm a coward about things I can't put in a spreadsheet. Because calling you my best friend let me keep you close without risking the part where you could leave." The elevator opened behind us. An older man stepped out, glanced at us, then kept walking. Ava waited until the lobby was quiet again. "So tonight made you brave?" "No," I said. "Tonight made me ashamed." The feeling was there before. I reached into my coat pocket and took out the folded receipt from the noodle place we always went to on Fridays. I had kept it by accident, or that was what I told myself. 2 bowls. Extra chili oil for her. No scallions for me. Same order as always. "I kept this from last month," I said. "Not because it meant anything dramatic. Because it was a good night. Because you laughed so hard you spilled broth on your sleeve. And I drove home thinking I wanted ordinary nights like that for the rest of my life." Ava looked at the receipt, then down at her hands. "I will not be the woman you choose because dinner with someone else felt empty. You're not. And I won't be hidden at work like a mistake. You won't. And tomorrow morning," she said, voice shaking now, "you don't get to call this confusion just because daylight makes it scarier." I took that in. All of it. "Then we go slow. A real date. Not noodles we pretend are logistics. Not a couch we pretend is emergency housing. And if you decide no, I protect your peace at work before I protect my pride." Ava's fingers loosened around her sleeve. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she stood, stepped closer and held out her hand, palm up. "Say one thing again," she whispered, "without the phone between us." I placed my hand in hers carefully. The feeling was there before. She closed her fingers around mine. "Then Friday," she said. "A real date." Friday did not become a movie scene. There were no violins, no rain-soaked confession, no sudden kiss under a streetlight. There was Ava standing outside the noodle place in her navy work dress, checking an email from opposing counsel while pretending she was not nervous. There was me arriving 7 minutes early, then walking around the block because I did not want to look too eager. When I came back, she looked up from her phone and smiled like she was choosing to be brave in public. "This counts as a date," she said before I could speak. So you don't get to expense the dumplings. I laughed too loudly because relief had nowhere else to go. We ordered the same food we always did, but everything felt touched by new light. Her extra chili oil. My no scallions. 2 waters because she said first dates should not begin with either of us needing rescue from caffeine. After dinner, we did not go back to my apartment and pretend nothing had changed. We walked 3 blocks in the cold, hands brushing twice before she finally took mine. Not dramatically, just fingers closing around fingers at the crosswalk while the signal blinked white. Over the next 2 weeks, love entered my life the way Ava entered rooms at work. Prepared, observant, carrying more than anyone realized. Her blazer stayed on the back of my dining chair one Tuesday. A toothbrush appeared beside mine in the bathroom, still in its plastic sleeve for 3 days before she opened it. Her laptop began living on my coffee table during emergency calls with the compliance team. A half-finished mug of peppermint tea kept showing up by the sink, because Ava always believed she would come back to it and almost never did. I cleared one drawer in the bedroom and told her it was available. She looked inside, saw the empty space, and closed it gently. "Thank you," she said. "But not yet." I nodded, though something in me had already imagined her sweaters. Folded there. That was the first lesson. Wanting someone to stay was not the same as giving them room. Ava still went to Sunday brunch with Elena. She still stayed late at the office when merger documents came in ugly. She still studied job postings for senior corporate counsel positions, including one in Boston she pretended was just research. I tried to learn the shape of ordinary presence. Not only calling when my father had a scare. Not only texting when the audit went sideways. On a Wednesday with nothing wrong, I brought lunch to her office and left it with reception because she was in a meeting. On Thursday, I asked about her day before telling her about mine. On Saturday morning, I handed her a spare key and said, "Not because you need it, because you should never have to wait in the hallway if you choose to come here." She took the key, but tied a red ribbon around it and left it in the small ceramic bowl by my door. "I'm choosing slowly," she said. I loved that about her. I also failed to understand what it would require. That night, she reminded me twice that she had a landlord call at 8 and a filing deadline by noon. I said I heard her. I even meant it. Then Monday came, and I let a budget emergency swallow the promise whole. By noon, the budget emergency had become a conference room full of tired voices, bad coffee, and spreadsheets projected too bright against a white wall. I remembered Ava's landlord call at 12:17, the exact moment my phone showed 3 missed alerts and 1 text from her. "Don't worry, I handled it." For words clean as a closed door. When I got home that night, the apartment smelled like garlic, lemon, and something left too long in the oven. A plate sat on the stove under foil. The pasta had gone stiff at the edges. Ava was at the coffee table in her work pants and bare feet, laptop open, legal pads spread around her like barricades. The red ribbon spare key lay in the ceramic bowl by the door, untouched. "I'm sorry," I said, setting my bag down. The finance review blew up. She did not look at me. "I know. I should have called." Yes. That one word did more damage than shouting. I walked closer and saw a printed letter beside her laptop, damp at the corner from where a mug had sweated onto it. The building manager's name was at the top. Without thinking, I picked it up. "Is this from your landlord?" Ava's hand came down over the paper. Not hard. Final. "Don't." I let go immediately, but the air had already changed. She closed her laptop with a flat, controlled sound. "You missed the call, Ethan. That hurt. But this." She tapped the paper. "This is worse." I frowned, confused and defensive before I was wise enough to stop it. "I was just trying to understand what happened." "No," she said. "You were trying to step into the problem before asking whether I wanted you there." The words landed with a sting because part of me had already been calculating. The overdue repairs, the lease clause, the possibility of calling the property company myself, asking someone in finance for a contact, fixing it before she had to spend another hour fighting. In my head, it was care. In her face, I saw how easily care could become control. "I'm not one of your accounts," she said quietly. You don't get to reconcile me. I looked around the room. Her sealed box still sat beside the bookshelf. The drawer I had cleared remained empty. The key stayed by the door instead of on her key ring. I had thought those things meant she was afraid of us. Maybe they meant she was protecting the part of herself that had survived before I knew how to love her. You're right, I said. The apology felt too small, so I did not decorate it. I forgot the call. Then I reached for your problem like access came with affection. Her eyes softened, but she did not rescue me from the truth. I need help sometimes. I don't need managing. We sat at opposite ends of the couch, the cold pasta between us like evidence. No kiss fixed it. Instead, Ava pulled a yellow legal pad toward her and drew 3 columns. Ask first, time alone, shared stuff. Under ask first, she wrote, help is offered, not assumed. Under time alone, silence means pause, not punishment. Under shared stuff, calendar or it doesn't exist. I added one more line with my own pen. No leaving a hard conversation without saying when. We'll come back. She read it, then nodded. For the first time all night, she leaned her shoulder lightly against mine. Then her laptop chimed. A new email glowed on the screen, subject line bold and impossible to ignore. Senior Corporate Counsel Interview, Boston Office. The email did not feel like a surprise to Ava. That was the first thing I understood. Her hand went still on the legal pad, not because Boston had appeared from nowhere, but because it had finally said her name out loud. She opened the message, and I saw the details reflected in her glasses. Senior Corporate Counsel, second round interview, relocation support, hybrid schedule, start date negotiable. Her breath changed before her face did. You applied, I said, not accusing, just catching up to a life she had been building before I knew how to stand beside it. Ava nodded. 3 weeks ago, the apartment felt smaller around us. The cold pasta, the red ribbon key, the 3-column rule sheet between us. It's not final, she said. It's an interview. But her thumb moved over the trackpad with the careful focus she used when reading contracts that mattered. She opened an attached PDF. Job description, benefits, legal leadership track, a relocation packet with a small map of downtown Boston. This is the one you wanted, I said. One of them. Ava. She looked at me then, and there was no apology in her face. Only fear and pride standing very close together. Yes, she said. It's the one. The next day, she took the call in my bedroom because the living room still smelled faintly like last night's argument. I stayed in the kitchen pretending to review quarterly numbers while her voice moved through the wall in pieces. Compliance strategy, contract governance, cross-state licensing, team leadership. This was not a woman being rescued by opportunity. This was a woman answering a door she had spent years building. Afterward, she called Elena. I heard less this time because the door was closed and because I had learned something. When Ava came out, she had her coat on. I need to see my mom. Her mother lived 40 minutes away in a small duplex with a ramp Elena had helped install after knee surgery. Ava drove. I sat in the passenger seat with a pharmacy bag on my lap because her mother needed refills picked up on the way. The house smelled like eucalyptus and laundry soap. On the kitchen table sat a medication chart, a spare house key, and a folder labeled insurance appeals in Ava's handwriting. Her mother hugged her, then looked at me with kind, tired eyes, like she could see the question hanging between us. Elena arrived 10 minutes later with groceries and no patience for pretending. Boston has better specialists, she said, unloading oranges into a bowl. But moving mom is not a weekend project. And Ava should not be making career choices based on who else is comfortable. Ava stood at the sink, washing a mug that was already clean. I'm not giving up senior counsel, she said. Her voice shook once, then steadied. I worked too hard to become someone who asks permission to grow. No one argued, not even me, especially not me. But fear is not always loud. Mine sat quietly in my chest while I imagined her desk gone from my coffee table, her toothbrush removed, the sofa becoming just furniture again. That same week, my manager slid a promotion packet across a conference table. Finance team lead, local office, 18-month commitment. 2 futures arrived with paperwork. Hers had a Boston skyline in the header. Mine had my name under a job title I had wanted for years. That night, Ava placed both packets on the table beside the red-ribboned key. "So this is it," she said softly. "I go and keep the part of me I fought for, or I stay and start resenting the love I chose." For a while, neither packet moved. The red-ribboned key sat between them like a small witness, bright against the dark table. Ava did not cry. She pulled the yellow legal pad from the drawer, the same one from our first real argument, and drew 3 columns again. This time she labeled them career, family, us. "I'm not choosing between becoming myself and loving you," she said. "That's a bad contract. I wouldn't let a client sign it, and I'm not signing it just because my heart is involved." I sat across from her with my hands folded, fighting every old instinct to solve, smooth, or offer money like a shortcut. She noticed. Of course she did. "Ask first," she reminded me. The rule from Part 6, written in black ink, suddenly larger than both job offers. I took a breath. "Do you want ideas, or do you want me to listen?" Her face softened by 1 degree. "Both, but I lead the first draft." She opened her laptop and began building the plan the way she built legal arguments, with evidence, deadlines, and no room for vague hope. Boston offer. Negotiate hybrid for the first 6 months after onboarding. Her mother. Keep primary doctors here until the insurance appeal cleared, then compare Boston specialists. Elena. Not a backup parent, but a sister with a defined schedule and paid support. Me, not a savior, not a wallet, a partner with tasks that could be measured. Ava called Elena on speaker. Her sister came in guarded, ready to protect her. "I'm not asking you to carry Mom because I'm in love," Ava said before Elena could start. "I'm proposing we stop pretending unpaid family panic is a care plan." That silenced the room more than anger would have. By midnight, there were sticky notes on the wall, a spreadsheet open on my laptop, and 3 phone numbers for licensed home health aides Elena trusted from a hospital social worker. Ava drafted an email to Boston asking for a phased relocation and 2 remote days for the first quarter. She did not apologize for the request. She framed it as retention, stability, and long-term leadership. Watching her write it, I understood again that her tenderness had never made her soft in the places that mattered. My part came next. I emailed my manager requesting that my 18-month commitment include a written review at 9 months for transfer eligibility to the Boston office. Not a threat, not a romantic gesture, a professional risk with my name on it. Then I added myself to the care calendar for 2 Saturday pharmacy runs a month and 1 insurance paperwork block with Ava's mother, because loving Ava could not only mean missing her beautifully from another city. The first answer came from Boston 3 days later. Hybrid approved for the first 6 months. Final relocation flexible after probation.
Elena.
Texted a photo of the new medication chart with all 3 names on it. My manager replied with a meeting invite, not a yes, but not a closed door. That night, Ava placed the red-ribbon key on my palm instead of the bowl. "We're starting the trial," she said. I closed my fingers around it. For the first time, neither of us called it temporary. We just stood beneath the sticky notes, looking at the life we had built on paper, wondering what name we would give it when we no longer had to hide. The trial did not become easy. It became honest. 16 months passed in paper cuts and airport coffee, shared calendars and Sunday night calls. Ava's Boston badge hanging beside my apartment key until both of them looked worn from use. Her mother's medication chart lived on Elena's fridge, color-coded and updated, with my name beside 2 Saturdays a month and Ava's beside every insurance appeal no one else could untangle. Boston kept Ava because she had earned it. My transfer came through after the 9-month review, not as a favor, but after I rebuilt 3 reporting systems and made myself useful enough to move. By the time we signed the lease on the new place, neither of us was arriving as someone's sacrifice. The apartment was smaller than my old one and brighter than hers had ever been. Morning light hit the hardwood in clean rectangles. We carried in 2 desks first. Hers went by the window, with locked file drawers for contracts and a corkboard full of court deadlines, family appointments, and one postcard from Elena that said, "Don't make me come check boundaries." Mine went across the room, facing hers, close enough to look up and find her there, far enough that we both had room to think. The closet was split down the middle, not symbolically. Ava measured it with a tape measure, marked the shelves with blue painter's tape, and handed me a screwdriver. "Equal space," she said. "Romance is not an excuse for bad storage." I loved her more for that than any soft sentence she had ever spoken by accident. The old sofa arrived last, wedged through the doorway by two movers who swore under their breath, while Ava argued with the building manager about elevator padding like she was cross-examining a hostile witness. When it finally settled against the living room wall, one armrest scuffed, one cushion permanently softer than the rest, the whole room exhaled. Her blazer landed on the back of the dining chair that night, not forgotten, not temporary, just home. A week later, we joined a video call with Elena and her mom to review the care schedule for the next quarter. Ava sat beside me on the sofa, laptop open on the coffee table, microphone icon bright green. This time, everyone knew it was on. Elena noticed my hand resting near Ava's, not hiding, not performing. "So," she said, eyes narrowing with fake suspicion, "what are we calling this Boston operation?" Ava looked at me. I looked at the shared calendar on the wall, the two sets of keys in the bowl, the mugs by the sink, the legal folders beside my budget binder. Then I reached for my phone and opened a new voice note, holding it where Ava could see the red recording line. "For the record," I said, "I choose Ava Morales on purpose." Ava's smile trembled, but her voice was steady when she leaned toward the phone. "And I choose a life where neither of us has to disappear." We sent it to Elena together. The sofa was still old, the schedule was still full, and tomorrow would still require work. But when Ava rested her head on my shoulder, the room felt like a promise with windows, keys, and both our names on the mailbox.